Welcome to Oh Brother, a podcast where we try to figure it all out with your hosts, Brandon and Collin. On this week's show, the second S. Ahoy!
Ahoy!
It is a day.
Uh-oh. Always good. Always good when you start off like that, right?
You know, it's one of those of like, man, I don't know. I've never had where it's just like my throat itself is like tender to the touch, but it doesn't hurt when I talk. Like, this is weird.
That is very weird.
Weird. And then like it's okay. And like I'm fine. Like everything's fine. I can sing. I can do all this stuff. But when I talk or when I go to swallow, it's like, That's why when I touch my throat or swallow, it's like, this is not good. I need to not do either of those activities.
Well, one of those is very important for
yeah. Recommended by most.
Yeah, that's good. I just have normal runny stuffy nose, so I'm just in like normal mode, like
nice. Yeah, it's
September
it's
is like
around.
pretending it's going to be fall, and it's like, oh, would you like some?
Now, I think what happened was what threw me into this has been something that's kind of been like in the background generally since we got back from the conference. But it's like, I really think that the week that we were gone really threw off my body for what was expecting to come back to, because in that 1 week we had like the last little bit of like of hot temperature.
Oh, it'll probably be back, because remember, September is a liar. So
so yeah, I just came back in and my body was like, well, we're doing the great, and insert screeching sound of tires everywhere, and here it is. But yeah, it's been interesting, been surviving and thriving.
Oh dear, what is that?
Oh, haven't been getting a lot of sleep though. I've been going through this phase where it's like I get really tired around like 9 o'clock, and then if I'm not as like in bed and ready to go shortly thereafter, like I'm awake till midnight or more.
Oh, the second wind kicks in.
Yes,
and you're like, oh, here I am forever.
Oh, it's wonderful. It's wonderful. It's not wonderful, but
yeah, I haven't been sleeping either. I do have one. Like, I had one night where I could not go to sleep. Like, I kept waking up and I had really like weird dreams, right? But I have like, I kind of pinpointed exactly why, right? So I may have fallen down this weird YouTube rabbit hole of well, let me back up here. Okay. I think it's very weird. It's weird to me. Right, there's a lot of different kinds of science, right? Science can be done in a variety of forms, right? But it is very odd to me that there are multiple people studying in the field of insect bite instinct pain, right? This is a weird this is a weird thing that like many people latched onto, right? Like, yes, I want to be bitten by terrible, terrible insects and see what it's like. Like, hold on. You want to what?
Mm-hmm.
And so I was watching some of these, right? And then I had a dream about like a giant spider jumping across the room, and then I just not sleeping the rest of the night. After that is really kind of how it went, right? It was just like
So yeah, sorry.
So I was like, well, no more of those this week. But like, yeah, it's a very weird field of study. And it's even weirder that there are like many people that decided that yes, this is the field of study which I shall pursue. I would like to be bitten by giant bullet ants, or like just whatever sort of very strange exotic creature, you know, like centipede. I think that might have been the one that put me over the edge because that just don't look like you don't. I just don't like looking at giant centipedes. Right?
No.
It's just not a pleasant, fun thing to see. And it's even less pleasant and fun when you see it attached to somebody's forearm.
No, it creeps me out whenever it's walking across the ground, let alone. Yeah, no,
yeah.
that's
When it has
that's
its
really
giant
not okay.
mandibles dug into your
Ugh.
arm.
Oh.
So I don't.
Well, trigger warning for this
Yeah, that's
episode.
what. Yeah, sorry, a
Sorry.
little late for that one. My bad. But like, that's one of the. I have one very specific night of not sleeping that I'm going to attribute to that.
That would do it. That would
Yeah,
certainly do it.
I think that would be it, right? So I think it didn't help, right? I think that was I was
No.
probably
Oh.
already like getting slightly ill a little bit, but then like throw on some disturbing bug stings slash bite video stuff is like
The piece de resistance there, buddy.
yeah,
You're really gonna go for
it's
it.
it's a thing, right?
It's certainly something that did happen.
It was a plan that I had, right? And I
Yeah.
don't know, it wasn't the best plan ever.
If we're being honest.
If we're being honest, right? Like, it's just a weird thing that multiple people do. That's what I couldn't like think about. I was just like, kept thinking, like, this is like not lots, but like many people do this. Like, what? What
Of
is
all the
this?
weird, like, quote unquote, like professions or areas of expertise that the modern societies and world have afforded people, if you talk 100 years ago, 1,000 years ago, people thought that we'd all be philosopher kings, writing poetry and
Yeah,
creating fine
no.
art. And no, instead, what we've done with our time is, hey, how badly does this hurt if this thing bites me?
Yeah. What if I let a giant soldier ant attach itself to my arm? Right? Let me
Just
describe
no.
to you the bite of an assassin bug. Like I
Yeah. Oh.
So I don't know. It's just it's one of those like I couldn't look away, but then after a while I was like I should really not watch this anymore. This is really not affecting my brain here in a way that I was not prepared for. So I don't. So
Yeah.
I had one night of trauma just from that, right? So, we can put that behind us. We're not gonna watch that anymore, but we gotta we're like one video, like lunchtime, right? Not anywhere near sleeping time.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was talking to one of my friends, right? And they were, we were talking about bugs, right? And and it's not the bug that's usually the problem, unless of course it is a, 10-inch long centipede, then that's very much a problem. But
Uh-huh.
like it's the surprise bug, right? That's what it is. It's like the bug that you see coming.
Oh.
It's the one that sneaks up on you.
Oh.
And all of a sudden you're like, there's a spider on me right now. Right?
Yep.
This is why flying bugs are so traumatic, because they're just all of a sudden like in your face.
They are airborne, yes, and suddenly there and everywhere. Yeah, we have a little kind of like a basket thing outside of our front door, and for a while I've been watching like a wasp come and go from it. I was like, oh, okay, there's definitely like a nest in there, and it concerned some individuals enough that I just took it upon myself 2 days ago to um rid our front porch of the wasp and its nest. And so I walked up to the basket and with a broom and I kind of just banged it really hard. And after the seventh wasp came coming out, I was like, oh, it was not the same wasp that I saw Turns out I'm really bad at identifying individual wasps.
Well, I mean, they do kind of
I
look the
mean, I'm not
same.
gonna.
That's kind of
You
how
said it. You
species.
said it. I didn't. I'll say.
That's how insect species work, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you can't like.
So, then I had like 11 of them so flying around the deck,
Ah,
and in my last ditch effort to get them away from me, I took my broom and I put it on the basket, and I just flung the basket into the front yard, so that they would stop trying to come back to the basket, and that really helped. They quickly dispersed. I did have a few moments as I whacked them with the broom and batted them away from us. So I was
Kung Fu pandaing in the yard, like the
I
wasp.
was.
Yeah!
I actually, I mean, okay, so there were noises of me going, and, oh! Oh, because
I bet the
that's
neighbors
what.
really enjoyed that little
Okay,
demonstration
I
of your
mean, one
kung
of our
fu
neighbors,
prowess, right? Like, whoa,
one of
so
our neighbors
impressive.
are my in-laws, and the other neighbors weren't home, so it's
That's
totally
true.
fine. Uh, but
Until
and
it wasn't fine.
Noah was watching me, and he was like, "What is going on?" I'm like, "This is how you take care of wasps." Obviously, as you can tell from me, sometimes going hiya and other times going "Eek." What?
Yeah, that. Come on, you gotta. It's bad because you can't like. It's like the gnat problem, but worse, right? You start flailing around your face, and everyone's looking at you like there's a bug. I swear, because it's so small. But wasps are a whole new, like, different level of danger mode because they'll just like sting you right in the face, and they don't even care. Just like
Yeah,
you get blam, take that. Especially those red wasps; those little suckers are terrible. Like
not fun.
every other wasp is like, "Oh no, I shall not run away." Red wasp is like, "I shall die by my sword," and then just
Yeah,
like,
like, that's it. You did
like, "Oh no, stop!"
it. He wants the pain. Oh my gosh. So yes, and then of course they were the red wasps. So I was with much more gusto,
Of course,
sweeping and swooshing across the air with my hayas, um, which I think is what vanquished them eventually.
I
Or
mean,
at least
obviously,
I am fully convinced.
but yeah, clearly they fled in terror. That's
Yes.
what happened, really. You did.
Ultimately, exactly that's what happened. It is they had to flee because they were scared.
Yeah, obviously, just what
So
happens, you know.
yeah. So that's an interesting thing to fall down into. And I think it's also a great example of how you start off on those start at the top of the rabbit hole. You're like, "Oh, this is mildly interesting. Oh, wow. That's fascinating." And then at some point it makes that switch to all of a sudden you're like, "Oh no, that was over my threshold."
Yeah,
And
like
I
why is this? Why is this happening? What?
I there was no way for me to know where the threshold was on insect bites, but
That's
I
true.
found it.
That's true.
Like you can watch. I've kind of gotten that sense if you watch a lot of like Russian dash cam videos, if you're like, oh, the
Oh,
editing is taking a slightly darker turn now, and like people are actually going to start being injured. I'm out. Like it's not funny anymore.
I don't. Yeah, I don't. I definitely have come across a few random dash cam videos. I don't understand why you would like post that. Like, is there a giant audience for people like, oh my gosh, more dash cam footage?
The answer is yes.
Just what I always wanted. Like, who needs more proof that people suck at driving? Like, who really needs that? Like, you're on the fence, you're unsure about people doing baffling things when they're driving cars. Like,
Mhm.
are you like confused? Like, oh no, surely. Is it just a situation where like, surely it can't get worse? And
Uh-huh.
then, Russian guy's like, hey, but have you seen this yet? Like, like, dang it, what?
Yeah, and the answer is always no. I had not seen that, and I
Uh,
really wish I could unsee it. So yeah, there's always that that
yeah.
that moment where you go, yeah, over threshold, and now I need to get out of this right now.
Yeah, I agree. But it's distressing because, like you said, it's like, nope, nope. Turns out that was too far. Oh no, I cannot now recover because I have, I'm already past. I am now
Yeah.
sinking.
Yeah.
Help.
Well, it's like, and there's no amount of, and with those things, there's no amount of like trigger warning or advance warning that they can do, because the only way that you know is if you see it or it's shown to you, and then like, by that can it's too late. So it's like when
Yeah, true. Right.
in my talk when I like I've told people before of like, I kind of I do dive into some topics sometimes, and it's like, look, I would have given you a trigger warning, but I read a research paper about how just mentioning a trigger warning is a trigger for some people, so it doesn't matter. So here we go. Here we go.
Yeah, that won't be. It won't be helpful because it'll make it worse for you. Oh no.
Yeah, and then you're just dreading it as it gets closer. So we're going for it.
Oh no. Yeah, it's bad. It's all gone wrong. Oh no. So what else have you been up to other than
Oh, this
overcoming illness and that's what
fighting spicy sky raisins. I
okay.
have been. This has been a very weird week. We our Labor Day was basically like not busy at all, like totally nothing busy, which is fine, right? Which is fine because we have other times where we've been randomly busy, and I'm like, I wasn't ready. So to have something where it's going, oh, this is actually a little bit slower, but that's fine because I don't really feel up to managing a lot of things right now.
Yeah.
Right. So I've still been in recovery mode of trying to get us back in a direction since we've gotten back, and getting the kids back into the swing of things of the schedule. But this week we launched into the brave world of trying to understand Google advertising for our business. And this
Oh dear. That's
like deceptively, it's really easy. Like I think Google tries to do a lot of things for you where they can either scan your website and recommend ads for that, or scan your Google business listing or Google profile and make ads for that. And so technically with like 3 clicks, I could, have these things up and running and moving them. But we're trying to target like really, really specific services now. And this is kind of our last ditch, like not last ditch, but like we really need a surgical tool for these to be able to say, only show me on these searches. Like,
yeah,
right.
yeah.
Because sure, we're working on the long term SEO solution on our website and stuff, but like, no, I really need this stuff to be in front of people right now. And so that's where we've been focusing, and it's been weird because we've had so many people who've told us, "Oh, if you do those, oh man, you'll get it'll go gangbusters for you," and oh, this is how I grew this thing. That's what I do, blah blah. So we were like, awesome. Well, here we go. Let's try this. It's not a crowded market, so we don't need to set a big budget. That was other people said. They were like, if you don't have other people in the area, don't like waste a bunch of money because who are you competing against? Fair point. Fair point.
Oh yeah.
Right. So but we're on like day 4 and nothing has happened. Like nothing. And I'm going, what did I okay, I guess I need to try again. And I'm ever increasing going, okay, I tried to take this thing, and I this applies to broadly across my life of like, okay, I tried to take this thing and I tried to do my own with it. I tried to make it my own, given my current understanding and level of expertise and knowledge, and I tried to do a thing. I didn't use the presets. I didn't use the scripts or things like that other people have provided. I'm going to try to make this my own. And then like going, well, should I have done should I have just done what Google suggested and mindlessly click the button 3 times? Like maybe I think I need to make an ad where that's just when I do and go, no, you know what? I'm not even going to think about this. I'm just going to click some buttons and we're gonna see what happens.
I mean, yeah, because you have to have something to compare it to, right? You have to have the control test,
Yes.
right? So, like,
Yes.
if you're only doing the, I'm going to change all the variables and you don't even know what the first thing is supposed to do,
Yes.
how can
So
you be successful? Come
so
on.
so we made one ad, and then because I was like, well, I don't know, like we'll just get this one out there. And then yes, we did go back and added a second ad to that. And it is pretty neat where what will happen is if you make one campaign, within that campaign, you can do A/B testing in that campaign. You don't have to go set up a second campaign to test ads against. It will use all the
That is
same
very handy.
keywords and everything else, but you just change the text of the ad. And then Google's algorithm will start mixing and matching and displaying, and you get reports on each one that you're A/B testing against to see how it's fair
Oh,
comparing. Again, because it's like, okay, I only want to show up for these 10 keyword searches, but I don't have to make each campaign to have all that. So now it's like, oh, this is actually pretty neat. All the keywords are the same, the geographic region is the same, everything else is the same except a couple changes in the text. And then you can see, oh, this ad got this many clicks and this number of impressions. And you can see, oh, everything was shown, because that's the other thing. Google will be like, oh, it shows it to you. It'll say, oh, I showed this ad 17 times and this ad 19 times. I showed this ad 14 times. So you can go, okay, well, they were all kind of generally displayed the same, but this one got a whole lot more clicks. Let me go look at that one and figure out why. And obviously having to take into account things like, well, the season was different and what was the purpose behind this and whatever. But so that's been kind of fun to dive into. And also going, okay, here's another thing for me to putz with and try and change and not keep it static and whatever. And it is also nice that they don't charge you until you get like an interaction with the ad. That's very nice, because
ooh, that is handy.
if I was if I was just paying right now and nothing was happening, I'd be angry. But it's like, well, I'm 4 days in, nothing's happened, but so I've spent no money, but also like I wanted to spend the money.
Yeah, but also
So
nothing's happened.
yes.
So,
So
huh? Problems.
just wait. And also trying to go, well, I do need to give this time, because the only way to gather good data is for this to sit out there for a little while. But I also, don't want to be wasting opportunities or for other things. So we're trying to go, is this a 30-day experiment, or do we think we're going to have it like, where to, on statistics,
Yeah.
you get that power curve of like,
Yeah.
how many more samples do I need before I've pretty much got 95% of what I'm going to get?
Yeah, I'm gonna start flattening out, right?
Yes.
Like your
Right.
S curve hits the other upper bound.
The
and
other
starts,
S. Yes.
yeah, the second.
Second S. Yes. And that's what we're trying to figure out now, of going, okay, we're just going to sit and monitor. And then once we start seeing just consistent keyword searches or consistent impressions, I think we're not going to let it run for the full, we had originally said 30 days, but we'll see. We'll see what we end up doing here. So that's been a very interesting part of what we've done recently.
Well, that does sound intriguing, right? And it's always weird. It was weird just how targeted that the ads can get with that now. Like, because I will see ads for like local businesses sometimes on YouTube, or like random Springfield stuff on there, and so they have the ability now to sort of hone in on, I mean, a lot better than they used to, I would say, where it would just be like Springfield, Illinois, what, whatever, like who cares?
Yes.
Like no, not that one.
Now it's not as granular as we have not done this of because I targeted anything starts making my skin crawl, because I'm like, I had somebody recently say, well, why don't you just do a geofence where when they walk out of a certain pet store, you can ping them with your ad? And I was like, because that's creepy. And my phone is set to Australia, most days to avoid this. Like, if I'm not comfortable with this, it's very real. So I'm kind of okay of going, okay, we know generally where they are geographically, and we know generally what people are searching for. I want to be seen for that. With Facebook, the dials on these, apparently, we have not gone down this road, and I don't think we will, are like obscene of like, do you want to target 22 to 24-year-olds making between $100,000 and $104,000 living on this one block on the south side of the street? Here you go.
Good night. What the heck?
Wait a minute. I'm not okay with any of this because they just hoover up. And if you've never done this, I know you don't have Facebook, but it's terrifying.
Right, I
to
don't
dig down into Facebook, and they will display the data back to you of what your of
oh yeah, like what you're putting out. Yeah.
Yes, of what they're like. Hey, here's what we've surmised of who you are. It's one of the most unsettling things in the world, right? Because we're just using Facebook. We're just clicking things, scrolling, liking, paging over, checking out stuff. And how much data could they actually be getting? Oh my gosh, they're
all of it.
Really good.
Yeah, that's the weird part too. Is it like them and other companies, right? They really love like harvesting the data.
Yeah,
but they kind of then also don't know what to do with it. They're just like, yeah, ads, I guess. Anyway, that's like it. They don't really.
Yeah.
Which is, again, some sort of weird like capitalist dystopia of like, well, we can sell you things based on the things we sold you. Like, okay, but like, can we do something else with it? Like, I can sell you this pen. You're like, no, I don't want to.
Could sell you a book about how not to be sold to online.
Yeah, right.
Like looks like you're trying to get going off grid. May I suggest a couple Facebook groups about off grid living?
Oh no, that's the book.
Something has gone terribly wrong.
That's the other. You had the pipeline is a real thing, right? Like the like, but so that's fun. As we learned this week, did you hear the big story from like yesterday where like some online media company has actually just been being paid by the Russian government for like who knows how long? Yay. This one of those supposedly like quote independent media platforms. Okay, sure, got you. Okay, that's not how that works, but all right, that's good.
Yeah, so it's one of those of going, oh right, yeah, because so every now and then, every now and then I'll jump on Twitter because I'm like, you know what? How much worse if my day is going bad? You know what I need to do? I need to see
how bad Elon's day is going.
Yeah.
That's what
I just need to see like how bad is somebody else's day going? Like it's a little, I know, but like, yeah, I saw somebody post and they were like, in response to the DOJ allegations, and I was like, this is
it's a strong opening statement. Okay.
Yeah. When it's an open letter about the DOJ allegations of Russian influence, I was like, okay, well, things are great in America's free media. Everybody, we're doing well. We're really doing okay. We're winning. We're doing it.
Yeah, right. Like that. Yeah, I read something like that too. Like, we did not know that the money was coming from Russia. You're like, did you read the script that you were saying before you were saying it? Because kind of is obvious based on some of the clips that I saw associated with the article. It's like, this is not subtle. like what are you talking about?
Yeah.
What do you mean you didn't know? Like, hold on.
Everybody's talking about the motherland. Well, this is kind of weird, right? That's no.
One of the quotes was, this is going to get clipped out of context. I just know it. But one of the quotes was like, somebody said like, Ukraine is the greatest threat to American democracy. I was like, what?
Oh.
Um. Uh.
Oh,
No.
oh,
What? What
oh,
are you talking about? Like,
oh
what? Hold
no.
on. Hold on here. That is not a fact
Oh, that
or
hurts.
even remotely real at all. I just I don't know. And then like, oh, I didn't know where this message came from. Like, yep, really? For a news organization, you're pretty dense about the current geopolitical climate. There's this small thing happening called the Russian invasion of Ukraine. Maybe you've heard of it. It's been happening for way too long now. So maybe when you say words like that, you should think about who wrote that.
Oh, yeah. Well, and then, yeah, can I? And it's just so weird because, yeah, people get it in that mind of, oh, if you're going to pay me, $500,000 a month in some cases, or some
Yeah,
guy was being paid $400,000 a month to make like 4 videos. It's like,
yeah. He has like $100,000 a video. Like
yeah,
what?
turns out,
What?
you can you can actually pay people to say things and do things. And we
Yeah,
like to think, no, you can't, right? Nobody would ever accept, it's just stop, right? We don't live in that area. Like we've
we
never
don't. Right?
like
Everybody knows that lobbyists exist. So you can't tell me, right?
yeah.
Like I've seen Thank You for Smoking. Thank you very much. All right. I watched Mad Men a little bit. I know how this works. I know.
Oh, oh my gosh. Well, did you so again, speaking of internet controversies,
Oh man, there we go. The tea episode. Let's go.
I I
Internet tea
started
time.
to see uh trending on X again, home of all of the wonderful things on the universe.
Dumpster fires.
Yeah, absolute dumpster fires. But what I started seeing was the name Churchill was trending. Have you seen this?
So this briefly passed across my radar like today, but I did not have any time to investigate why
Well,
this was happening.
one
Right? Like I don't know.
one former Fox News person is gone
Oh,
independent.
oh, was this is this just hypothetically? Has this person produced a video from a Russian grocery store?
Look, all I'm saying is that this person was shocked at how clean the streets were in Russia.
Okay, yeah.
Absolutely, just how amazing it was. What a utopia to live in.
Oh yes.
Um,
What an
well,
interesting word to pick there. How? Where did
this
that
person,
vocabulary word come from?
this person hosted somebody who started talking about how that the true villain was actually Winston Churchill, who egged on and furthered the war effort and drug it on, and like was the true warmonger of this, and that Hitler guy, he was just trying to protect his people, and he didn't
Was
really
he
want to have to do that.
really? He didn't want to V2 rocket all of southern England. He was provoked into doing that completely by other people. This was not his idea. Is this what you're telling me?
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Are you telling me that Winston Churchill's why the Germans were like, you know what sounds good? Polish land. Yeah, let's go. Like, I don't think that's how that works.
Uh-huh. You see, it actually is. And I saw this and I went, well, nobody's going to believe that, right?
oh,
Right?
I don't ever say
No,
that anymore.
no,
I learned my
no, no.
lesson.
The number of people who were out like, absolutely, I am finally glad that people are talking about this. The whitewashing of the Western media needs to end and finally
What?
expose the blah blah blah. I was like,
Look, wait, this is this is a problem, right? Like the guy, like I think we so there is I don't know. I don't even know where to start with this explanation, right? Like all the first thing that comes to my mind here is this, right? Obviously, people like Winston Churchill are held up on a big plinth, right, for their
Sure.
contribution to the war effort, right?
Uh-huh.
And that is, whatever. But like, there is another side to that. Like, was Winston Churchill just like the greatest human ever to live? No, no, he was not. Right? Like, he was kind of a jerk, right? He did dumb things, right? The whole Gallipoli thing was kind of bad, or extremely bad. And but yeah, like to say then, like, oh no, the major antagonist of the Second World War was Winston Churchill. I don't believe he did any beer hall speeches or wrote a book or manifesto, some might call it, or gave really impassioned speeches
Oh,
on a
that was the other
plinth,
thing. That was
right?
the,
Like,
wait. No, no. I'm so glad you said that because they're one of the examples of evidence. Okay. You know what they said? They said, why? Why does Western media never translate Hitler's speeches in documentary and on the news?
they first of all they do
Uh,
like
well, obviously you
so
don't.
they do, right?
Anyway.
You can do that. Subtitles have existed for a very long time, right? Just so you know, that's how this works.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. But this was their example. They were like, well, they just want him to sound angry because if they actually said what he was saying, it'd be like, and then we will all have puppies and enjoy sunsets on the beach as we embrace each other in love. Welcome. Like, what do you mean? Like, no, it was just, oh, I've just, that was my doom scrolling of what I did the other
That's
day.
pretty terrible, right? Like, I and just so that these people are aware, like I just found a translation right now from the University of North Carolina. Now I'm not going to read any of this
Sure.
because gross, but like these are not like you know these are not like happy fun things, right? There's no talk of puppies in here anywhere, like it's not just lovey-dovey times. um Here he's talking about a certain group of people that is responsible for all the problems, how German culture should be upheld above all other things.
Uh,
uh oh yeah, just totally normal things. They're totally not weird and psychotic. And so yeah, so that's in ranty, right? That's the other thing, right? I don't know how you could listen to, even just listening to him, right? And then listening to Churchill be like, yes, we shall fight on the beaches. We shall fight in the streets. We shall never give up. Like, this dude's like not even awake. Like, what are you talking about?
uh-huh.
The sound of an antagonist, right? Like, oh my, that's distressing.
Yeah.
Like,
And I was like,
just how,
uh,
like, what, what universe are you living in that this makes sense, right? Like, spoilers. There is absolutely no way that you can convince me that Hitler was not the worst human being ever, right? Or at least top five, right? Like, come on, like, what are you talking about? This is
yeah.
ridiculous.
Yeah. It just, yeah. And just seeing the outpouring of support and like, yeah, I've been saying this all along. And if finally we're kind of talk about this in the open. And I'm like,
That's never good. Like,
no, no.
that is the sign to leave a conversation. Listeners, if anybody ever says to you, I'm so glad we can talk about this in the open, you need to like run, potentially call the police department, right? Like, these are not these are the words that very, very like out there people that have like very outside cultural norms and mores. Like these are the words they use when they're about to tell you like all about their life, right? And it's not good. Okay, it's bad. There's going to be potential admission of like illegal things, right? It's going to be real bad. That's not good. Don't just run away. Don't
This is
participate in any way. Flee with the quickness. All right, just don't do it.
this
Don't do
is
it.
this is why I have this pet thing of like we need to bring back a whole lot more public shaming for for things like again, this sounds really bad. Trust me. I know, but like sometimes these ideas, especially I don't know whether what several of the ones we've discussed so far, like no, people need to know that those are actively bad and told that they need to stop believing those.
Yeah,
this is
right. Like
very
there's really
important
not
to
a
me.
lot of yes. There's not discourse in like, oh well, maybe that was a good. No, no, no,
No,
no. There are some things that are objectively wrong, and you can be like, these people also say things like, well, I have the right to think this. Like, yes, you also have the right to be completely wrong
yeah,
and out of touch with actual reality. So
yeah, totally.
that's where you are right now. This is not a real thing. This
Congratulations.
is not.
Welcome. Glad you could be here.
That's just ridiculous.
So yeah, that's been my fun week. Hope and everything. But yeah,
Oh,
that's about
that's like
all.
saying this is gonna get me. This is gonna get us banned. But like that's like saying it's the Dalai Lama's fault China is occupying Tibet. That's what it's saying. Like,
Oh,
oh,
oh, oh, yeah. Well, I know.
you can bleep that part out if you want to,
No,
but I just
no, it's
leave it a
fine. I
mystery
mean,
for
that's
everybody what we said. Like, oh,
yeah.
what did he say? I don't know. That's like that. That's like that level of insanity. Like, what?
Yeah,
What do you mean?
yeah. There's no yeah. There's literally no no coherence to these
No.
arguments. And yet people get convinced by them. And unfortunately, where a lot of this stems from is people do start to question narratives, right? And I think that it's always healthy for us to be a little suspicious of and always dive in, not suspicious, but like dive in for our own, like do your own research. Just because you read it on the internet doesn't mean it's true or whatever. Like do your due diligence. But then unfortunately what people can start to go to is they start to go, you can't like basically, you can't believe anything. Everything that you've ever been told is a lie. And so they immediately have to jump to the counter narrative because in their world, if everything in the history book is a lie, well, then anything not in the history book automatically has to be true. And there we find ourselves. And you go, no, you, I can see why you did your own thing, but like now we ended up in a bad place. We took off the guardrails here, people. Like guardrails necessary.
But they don't know how to research properly, right? Like there is a way that you have to go about this, right? Like there's you can't just be like, yeah. Unfortunately, right? The internet has created a reality which like National Enquirer levels of weirdness are just like everywhere because like everybody can publish something, right? And just because it's published on the internet does not mean it's real,
Yeah.
right? Here's my PSA: if you read an article and it has the word "I" in the title, it is not a factually correct article, right? Like
What?
it's like it's somebody's blog post, right? There's all those dumb things like, "Oh, I was a chef for 15 years, and here's my like." No, no. If you have personal pronouns in the title, don't read it. That's not actual anything. It's just random opinion stuff, right? It doesn't not. Who cares? Like, it's not gonna be. It's not gonna be useful, you know. And that's what a lot of them are, or something like that. And so, being able to like actually, like, yes, do your own research. That's fine, but also, I think during a certain viral outbreak that occurred several years ago, this phrase got bandied about by a bunch of people who just like that's what they did. Like, well, I read on my Uncle Jim's Facebook that he did the thing and then it didn't work and it's no good. Like that's that's not how virology works. And two, what? Like, what do you mean? This is not one anecdote does not expert opinion make, right? This is not how it's work.
Yep. And yeah, because again, that's what is called a case study, which are sure they are a lot of times widely used in medicine because we only have one instance of things, but those are always taken with a huge caveat of well, we only have one, right? We don't have an ability to replicate this.
Yes. And yes, replication is a very important part of this, right? You have to have consistency, repeatability to then have a pattern, right? A thing happening one time is not a pattern, right? So, yeah, people don't know how to do that, right? I think part of the problem is there is a certain age of person that, like, during their education, the internet did not exist. And so they were just like, it's just like trust written things. Well, this is written on the internet, but it's written. So it's
why
good,
it's so
right?
hard.
Yeah. And then there's another younger section where internet things were developing so fast that it just kind of like it got missed.
Yeah.
Right. The like how to find actual thing. It just like slipped through somewhere. Right. And then it's like everybody now just doesn't know what to do. I think it's worse with like the Google, not to back to Google thing, but like the Google like AI generated top question answery thing, right? Sometimes those are just like, what are you talking about? What is this? But if you're a person who's grown up as like a digital native and or even younger than that, right? Like if you were born after Google was invented, then you've just always like Googled a question and then looked at what it said and been like, yep, that's the answer. Because you don't know that Google is a search engine designed to just give you anything that has those words in it and not necessarily in the order that you look for them. So by putting the AI thing on there, it's really screwing with people because they're like, oh, I trust Google, right? And this is from Google, so it must be trustworthy. Even though it's like sometimes the answers are just the wackiest thing. What? I've seen some like screenshots of people posting. I'm like, what is this? Where did this come from? So that experimentation on a mass scale, right? The quote beta testing, right? Is not particularly helpful in a climate where like that stuff is not taken seriously, right?
Yeah.
And like, unfortunately, we also sort of live in like a post-truth era right now, where like truth doesn't actually even matter in arguments, right? Like if you look at a lot of things that happen in the media, people will like confront somebody with a fact, like a substantiated fact from multiple sources, and they will be like, "Nuh-uh," and people will believe them. You're like, "What?
Yeah.
What are you talking about?"
Yeah. Well, that's that.
When did the first grade defense become like the go-to? Like, nuh-uh. Like, what do you mean, nuh-uh?
Yeah. No.
What are you talking about? What's this elementary playground nonsense?
Well, absolutely. Where you go again, that gets to the well. I'm going to believe something just because somebody it's not what everybody else is saying. Right? That's not how we assimilate facts.
Yeah, that's not how facts work, right? Like the reason not all the time, obviously, right? I understand asterisk, whatever, but like the reason that a lot of people say the same thing is because that thing is true for a big part of the time. Not every time, obviously, right? But there are certain things that are just like fact, right? Like not to beat a dead horse here, but the Earth is round. Dang it! What are you doing?
Oh,
There is no Tartarian Empire. What's the matter with you? Okay, I'm coming. I'm back. All right, here we go.
oh,
Okay, center. What you got to do? Can't do the earlobe rub because my headphones are on. Just whack the side of my.
Yeah. Okay, breathe. So yeah, it's just this whole, and then again, as I've fallen into this, so you have like, okay, well, yeah, that is just kind of makes you go, well, what happens now? Like that, if people are willing to believe all this or start finally talking about the truth in the open, like I'm more terrified than ever to know what people aren't saying in polite company. Like, wait
That's
a
true.
minute.
That's also true. And then you go, the other part of like, sometimes like all of a sudden the person talking is now like, they're just like the foremost expert ever. And you're going, since when is Ted Nugent an expert on anything? What are you talking about? Why are you?
Well, I mean,
like, or like recently, right, with a bunch of weird stuff that like Pat McAfee guy, this dude, he's like a sports person or something. I don't know. But like, he's been saying all kinds of outrageous junk on the internet. And then there's a very important truth that the world just forgot, right? Pat McAfee. If we just think about football in general, Pat McAfee was a kicker. Okay. And since when has anybody ever listened to a kicker? Never. Never happened.
Fired.
Okay. Have you ever seen a football movie? No one is asking the kicker their opinion.
Yeah.
No one cares. They're just like, oh, he kicked the ball. Good job. Oh, he missed the kick. You suck. Benched. Like, that's how the kicker works.
True. Actually, a lot of them are pretty derided as well. As far as
well, that's true too. Yes, there's another famous example of this. But also, again, why are we listening to a kicker? What is happening? Kickers aren't an authority on anything except for kicking. They're kicking, and sometimes not even then. So, like, just from like a societal perspective, why are we listening to kickers?
Yeah,
don't do it. That's some real life advice. Don't listen to the kicker. Okay, I apologize to all those high school kickers out there who are aspiring to be better. Okay, I believe in you. You break the cycle. Currently, don't listen to kicker. All right, that's what it is. Yeah, that's the thing. Like, we hold up these random people as like bastions of truth, and you're like, that, sir, is Ted Nugent. That does not. No, the bastion of nothing. Okay, I don't know. Hulk Hogan does not hold truth. Okay, that's not who you uplift to be yes, the man famous for lying about literally everything. Yes, Hulk Hogan, the hero that we need. No, it's not true.
I mean, have you seen what he does with his shirt? That's pretty impressive.
It's true, right? He does eat the vitamins, so
he at least does that. And anybody who takes care of their body like that, that's
turns out maybe vitamins was code for steroids. Just a little bit.
Seem right? What?
Yeah, no, that never happened. Because he said it never happened. So obviously,
you see,
yeah,
all makes sense.
What they go?
No. I think we should travel to a different century right now.
That's what I was thinking. I was like, that sounds. Speaking of things not making sense, it's time to travel back to which chapter was this? Ooh, it was the slave chapter. Yes. Okay, got it. Right. So,
Speaking of happy topics,
speaking of happy times, this is a terrible episode. I'm very sorry, listeners. It's very dour for
we're
today.
sick.
We're sick. We're fed up, right? Just a couple older millennials angry at the world. Everything's fine. Don't worry about it.
Oh man,
it's not going to get better here, right? As we have some more very fun things. But yeah, so again, this just randomly happens, right? So we start off here. This is chapter Roman numerals of 34. The Yankee King sold as slaves, right? Yeah. So he's back, but we start here. He's backpedaling from him, like just really pushing really hard last time, talking about economic policy and whatnot, and like he's like, oh, I've overdone it. I better start to, reel him back in. I need to be nicer. And he's like, look, a Miller gun. Look how fun this toy is that I'm going to give you. Hooray. And then he makes some sort of snide comment about how they're awkward with machinery and they don't understand how machines work, because whatever. And then the king shows up. Oh no.
I love that. The king joined us. Mightily refreshed from his nap. He's done napping, people. He's ready.
Yeah. It was quite a hefty nap.
And mess some stuff up.
Yeah. So I like the next quote is, I was so uneasy for our lives were in danger. And so it worried me to detect a complacent something in the king's eye, which seemed to indicate that he had been loading himself up for performance of some kind or other. Confounded, why must he go and choose such time as this? So he just starts launching. He just starts launching into this thing about like farming, right? Where on topic, awkwardly, everything, like every fact that he says is just wrong.
Yeah.
And the problem here, dear listeners, is that the cover story is that he's supposed to be a farmer. And so he's talking about, I have no idea what this is supposed to be. Talking about how like some fruits are actually just unripe versions of other fruits and they're actually just related in some whole thing, and an onion's not really an onion, and blah, these rambling. And they're just like, what?
And I love how, at this one point he says, while as others do yet maintain with much show of reason that is not of necessity the case, instancing that plums and other like cereals do always be dug in the unripe state. The comment after this is, the audience exhibited distinct distress, yes, and also fear.
Yes, because first of all, even I know you don't dig up a plum. That's not how plums work. No,
do not. Also, I'm pretty sure a plum is not a cereal, if I remember correctly here. So
yeah, I haven't taken any botany in a long time, but I'm pretty sure plum not cereal.
Yes,
fruit. So I believe stone fruit? Really... Question mark. Does a plums have pits, right? Stone fruit.
Pits.
There you go.
Yes.
Stone fruit. Yeah. So he just talks about cabbage, right? And it's just all wrong. And they just decide that they're going to kill them. That's their plan. They're like, oh, this one is a betrayer and this one is clearly insane. Let us kill them.
I love how that's the instinct of this of this group, is to just go, you know what? Death. That's what we need to do. It's just
like, right. But the king is all for this. He's like, ha, a fight at last, huzzah. And so he just starts going to town and just beating dudes, right? I believe the word hammering is used several times.
Hammering each other. Yes.
Yeah, I don't know. So they start fighting, and then they like, all of a sudden he looks around and he's like, oh, I haven't seen Marco in a while. I wonder where it happened to Marco. Oh, there's Marco with like a crowd and perhaps a magistrate. Oh no. Come, king, we shall flee. So make their escape, right? There's a big long thing about chasing through the woods. They bring dogs,
foliage
right?
and such. Yes.
We have a very early use of the trope of, oh no, we're being tracked by dogs, we should run through the river. All right, so who,
This is good.
there's that, right?
Yeah.
That's there. I noticed that immediately. It's like, that's still a thing, and I'm pretty sure the Mythbusters said that's not real. So I feel and yet here it is, 1880s. Mark Twain's like, yeah, river, whatever, that's fine. We get
oh goodness. Yeah. What's it? Well, they're on, and this is where they encounter when they're in the stream. Is this where they encounter the person?
Well, I'm a little foggy on here because I read this several days ago, but they they're taking the bridge, then they're gonna hold off the bridge, and then all of a sudden they smoke them out, right? They're like, oh, we can't get us from up here. They're like, what if we light everything on fire and smoke them out? And that's when they finally catch them, right? They descend and then they get them. But then, somebody else comes, right? And then they're like, what's happening here? And they try to explain, and they're like duped pretty much. He's like, oh, yes, these people were trying to kill us. And they give a big long explanation like, no, we are just gentle travelers and blah, blah. And the guy's like, yeah, sure. You guys can come with us. Give them the horses and you can ride in the back. And they're like, yay. Everything is fine.
Uh-huh.
And then they ride right into a slave auction. And then the guy's like, all right, sell these two. And they're like, what?
Yes. Yeah.
Just right
into it.
The thing. Yeah. It was at which point, right? Very, very mad about this, obviously. He does make some references to slavery in the United States, being like, kind of talking about mirroring sort of Mark Twain's own personal journey through this matter of like, when I was younger, I didn't think anything of it, but as I got older, I realized this is bad. Why are we doing this? What's happening?
Yes.
So we get a little more Twain peeking through here. And then we have like a very great example of the why laws suck sometimes, right? This is what, because it's like, no. He's like, you can't prove that I am not a free man. He's like, no, you have to prove that you are.
Yes. This is like,
it's like, wait a minute, hold on. He's like, oh dear, that's not. Wait a minute, that's not how this works. So the burden of proof is the wrong way around. They get hitched up and taken off towards London, I believe, so they're headed eventually. But yeah, that is this chapter. It's a whole thing. It's very long. It's a very long one, full of very confusing things. Like what? But yeah, and then at the very end, he talks about, he's talking about how walking in the manacles make him think about this, where he says, the thing which I had merely been improper before became suddenly hellish, right? Where it's like, nobody ever really thinks about things like this until they experience something like it, and then it's like the worst thing ever, right? Yeah. So like how, unfortunately, certain situations have to like physically interact with you for you to suddenly gain an opinion on them, right? But that's kind of the end of that chapter.
Yeah, I will just go back and remark, it's interesting how still, while all of this is going on, he can't help but talk to him to think through the business aspects of. He's saying, well, the king brought $7, his prime minister 9, whereas the king was easily worth 12, and I was worth 15.
Yes, that part is ridiculous.
It's not a good market for this, so of course they had to take the price that they could get, and like what? What is happening right now?
And the king, yeah, that's a weird like side thing that he goes on. He talks about how he's upset because he's like undervalued, and the king is real mad because Hank is worth more than him. So that just really irks him, just right.
Yep.
He's stuck on that forever for the rest of the time.
Yes.
He's mad
He
because
cannot let it go.
He's not worth as much as Hank on the slave market. Like, there's bigger things to worry about, like the fact that you are a slave. Okay.
Yep. Because
you're
we go
missing
right
the
into
point.
the next chapter, and it starts off by saying like, the king brooded. This was natural, right? No, and I take my oath that the thing that graveled him most to start with was not this, but the price that he had fetched.
Yeah, not the fall from the loftiest to the lowest, right? It's the fact that his price was so low, and he's real mad, right? And then,
yeah, and then what he's he's so mad and frustrated that he's going at lengths to discuss with Hank about how, well, in a fair market, what price would I like? There, he's now arguing over the price, and Hank is obviously just like, oh my gosh, we have a lot more problems on our hands in this right now. But okay.
Yeah, he's like, how much do you think I'd go for here? And he's like, that's more, surely, obviously. So anyway, we have another problem. We're chained to a group of people. This is
Ugh.
So anyway, as everything in this book, we can't like just go somewhere. We have to be traveling, and then a thing happens, right? It's just like side story all along. But like, they come across this like other group of people, right? Because there's like is this the snowstorm thing, or is that later?
Rough time for a month. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
I forget. Yeah, but yeah.
Yeah, so they come across some other people, right? And there's this lady, and they're just like, well, obviously, we have to burn her. Clearly, that's just how it works, right? Boom, gotta burn her because the devil and evil and something. So burn, clearly, and obviously, this is not doesn't go over well with Hank or her, obviously. And there's this big long thing about how the laws are written in such a way that don't make any sense, right? And basically, it kind of comes to pass that like this woman's big crime is that she's poor. Right? Like that's the crime. Like all the stuff that happened, like there was like some sort of robbery or something, and something happened, but it's all because she was poor. Right? That's the root. It's like Aladdin. It's the beginning of Aladdin, basically.
Yes. Oh, yes.
And so this whole thing, they're reading her they're talking about these laws and how ridiculous it is and how crazy. And they're just like, well, there's just nothing for it. The law is that you must be killed. And she starts talking about her child and everything. And then the chapter ends. Again, sorry for the very downer episode, listeners. I apologize for this. But like the chapter ends with her like lamenting that her child is gonna be like alone and not have a home and stuff. And the priest says, but it has them all, and I will be all of these to it until I should die. And she just glares at him like, dude, he wouldn't even need all this if you would just, not kill me. It's so bad. Like, the system is all messed up in this book where it's like, yeah, clearly, well, we'll take care of your child and we'll do all these things for your child, but we have to execute you because this one law is really weird and you stole something because you're poor. Like,
it is a very interesting commentary on how a lot of times what we think is a good act of charity or a good act of just nicety is going, but is it necessary, right? Should it be necessary that we do that? Like, is that really the best possible outcome here? Is that, you and because you could just see how so many people would go, "Oh my goodness, look at how nice that
Mhm.
guy's doing, stepping up in a moment like this." And it's like, wait, that's that's not the thing I'm concerned about. Like,
Yeah, right. Like I had this moment at the beginning of the school year, right? Because there's like this thing, and they wanted to like they're starting this program where it's like, oh, the teachers can donate money, and they're going to use it to buy like stuff and things to help like at risk or at need children at the school, right? Which is fine. But we live in a state where the government refuses to run or fund those programs that would help the children.
yes,
It's like, bro, I why am I doing this? That's your job.
uh
like,
huh,
like you said repeatedly, no, we're not going to fund those programs. We're going to build I-70 bigger, bro. Move over, beep beep, right? Like, and then they're like, oh, you teacher that makes no money at all, would you please donate to this program to help buy things for students? I'm like, what? Okay, hold on. wait, wait a minute. Ah, like yes,
exactly.
it's a
Going
fine idea, but like the idea shouldn't need to exist.
exactly, exactly, and that is exactly the point
like there's
here,
nothing
right?
wrong with the idea, but it shouldn't need to be there
Yep.
at all.
Yep, and that's what he's driving home at this, just the absurdity of this entire thing, and how good, well-intentioned people step up, and it's like, wow, look at them. Like, or you could not do the thing that made that happen and made that a necessity. Like, that's really where we need to backtrack up. And I think that's kind of a general theme through a lot of this story so far, is just like the found just again the foundations of this, the foundations of the starting point of where people come from in their stories, and the stories that they tell, and the laws now, and the regulations, and the implications of these things, going, no, we're starting at a bad point, people. Like, that's what we really need to focus, is not this other ancillary stuff, or second or third or fourth steps down the road. Let's go back to step zero, and do something with that.
Yeah, exactly. Like we're not fixing the root problem, right? You're just like putting a shinier bucket under the water dripping from the ceiling,
Yeah.
right? Yes, it's a lovely bucket. It's very pretty. There's a hole in the ceiling, right? Like we have to
Dude.
allocate our resources. It'd be much better, right? Like, oh, I bought a new bucket because the old one was rusty. Still a hole in the ceiling though.
Wait,
So like, what?
wait a minute.
Hold on. What if we fix the ceiling? Ah, yeah, there we go. But that's socialism. That's not allowed.
Anyway,
So,
so we move into an encounter in the dark.
yeah, this one's real short, right?
Real
We're
short.
in London now, right? And he's now plotting escape. He's very tired of being chained, right? because no one will buy them because the price is too high.
Yep.
Uh, so there is some comments about like the caste system that is in force here, because he's pretty sure that he just saw Sandy walking by looking for
Good.
him, probably, and like, but she wouldn't look at the slaves, because why would he be there, right? So they don't look at the slaves. They're not real people because they're slaves, obviously. So like, she just walks by, and he makes a little comment about that, like how this whole thing is weird, and how he's not allowed to, like, you can't speak to higher members and all this stuff, right? Like that's happening here.
Uh-huh.
But he does get some good cheer because he does see a newspaper, and he's very glad that that means Clarence is out there still plugging away. This brings him
Yep.
some joy in his heart.
Yeah. Yep. Again, he specifically says what he says. Yeah, he says banging away. Yeah, his thought was full of cheer. Right. And then he goes, now he's looking at other things that are going on and up, and he sees a telegraph or a telephone wire, and he's like, look at that. That's one.
Yeah. So he's like, progress. While he's chained up to a whole group of people.
Yeah.
But anyway, so he's decided, he's plotted, he's had enough. He's plotted an escape. Right. So he's like, all right, here's the deal. I'm going to need to pick the lock. Right. He's going to MacGyver himself out of the handcuffs, irons, shackles. I don't know. And he's going to escape. They're going to beat up the slave captor, take him captive, and then march him and all the other slaves for some reason to Camelot to be like, ta-da, look at us, we're back, and take that, loser, we're not slaves.
We're not slaves.
Here's your proof, buddy. Like this like personal vendetta mission to go on his like the biggest character flaw ever. And like we have gets him in all the trouble. So this is the plan, right? So the time comes, he steals like a pin, button, brooch, something from a person who's coming to look at them to buy them.
Oh, the king's really angry about this discussion because he doesn't like the price that the person is wanting to pay.
Yeah. Well, and the slave owner says, all right, look, if you buy this guy, I'll throw in the other one for free. And that really makes the king angry.
Yes.
That was really funny. Like how mad he gets about that. And he's just like, no, sure, it's fine. Don't worry about it. You'll be free in another way soon. And that sort of cheers him up, right? And so he's like, aha! But he goes through this whole thing, right? He picks the lock, and then the watchman doesn't stay in the room like he was supposed to. And so he chases him out because he's got to club him and tie him to the thing. Yes. So he chases him out in there into the night, and he sees the figure in the distance, and he runs at him, and he tackles him, and a brawl ensues, and the constabulary comes, and they arrest him and the other guy. And when they put the lantern on the face, it's the wrong person.
Dun,
dun, dun. And back to jail probably with Hank. All right.
It's like I like the cliffhanger that I think this is the first time he's implemented that.
Or at least this dramatic of a cliffhanger.
Yes.
Right. There's maybe been a couple like small ones, but this is really like a no.
Man, we are racing up on the end here, and I'm very excited to see how this thing.
What is the resolution going to be?
Literally, what
is the climactic event of this story?
I can't figure it out.
How does one plot diagram the Connecticut Yankee and King Arthur's Court? How does work? It's just all rising action all the time.
It's all great stuff.
Right. I imagine it will just be like, and here's the thing. So yeah, we are pretty close. I didn't count chapters yet, but
I didn't.
But yeah, pretty close. So we'll see. Keep going. See how it goes. Your Mark Twain quote of the week, right?
Oh, yes.
I had a different one, but then I read that second chapter and I was like, nope, got a better one. Just to bring the mood down a little bit again. This quote says, "The lack of money is the root of all evil." Dun, dun, dun. Sorry to bring you back down.
Twist on that one.
But
well, you know what? Unfortunately, my haiku is not going to do us much good either because it's also a little sad.
Man,
this was not planned, people. I'm very sorry.
This was a dour episode. It was now.
I will. We'll correct this for next week.
Oh man,
we can have another good news episode.
Yeah, good news part 3, 4 question mark. Yeah, all right. Yeah, we'll workshop that. Let me know. Yeah, we can do that. We can We need to rebound hard here.
Yeah, I think we need to. So here's we'll end on this. I guess wheels beneath me roam, circling streets. Where can I land? Parking woes expand. Because I couldn't park at the hotel because it was really small.
The turning radius is too big.
I got it. Not something I carry with me. It's fine. It's fine.
Yeah, it's definitely not. Definitely not.
Your nightmares are of flying insects towards your face. Mine are of parking lots with exceptionally small parking spaces.
That's fair. That's fair. I will say I've been in the interim of doing other things, right? I've been playing some video game stuff, and because I have internet now, I can like update things and they work. Oh, surprise!
Oh.
So I was playing some Forza 5, right? You know, it's a racing game, right? And after last week's episode, I was playing and I won or unlocked or something a Ford Mach-E Mustang thing. Oh, and I was like, oh my gosh, it's cool.
Terrible game to have that in there.
And that was really funny. I was like, wow, okay, there we go.
It's a thing. It's a thing.
I was like, all right. How intriguing is that? Just talking about it. Here it is. Bam. There you go.
Hey, well, hopefully you enjoy that. Don't try to park it.
Okay, all right. I don't think you have to worry about parking in racing sims. I don't think that's really a thing they have to do.
Fair.
But those tight left-hand corners, maybe not gonna look forward to that then.
No, good luck on that. Let me know how it goes.
Okay, I don't know.
Okay. Oh. Well, we'll recover for next time, and we'll we'll try to skid.
Okay.
Love you.
Love you too.
Bye.
Bye.